Welcome to Zenful Heart Slumber Time. I am so glad you are here. Find a comfortable position now. Let your body sink a little deeper into wherever you are resting, and allow your eyes to gently close. Tonight, we are going on a journey together, a slow, beautiful journey into a world woven entirely from starlight and dreams. There is nothing you need to do right now. Nowhere you need to be. The only thing asked of you tonight is simply to rest, to breathe, and to follow the story wherever it leads you. Take a slow breath in now and let it go. Again, breathe in and release. One more time, a deep, slow breath in, filling your lungs completely, and a long, soft exhale, letting every last bit of tension leave your body with it. Good. You are ready. Part 1. The edge of the known world. There is a place that exists just beyond the reach of ordinary dreaming. Not quite sleep and not quite waking. A soft, velvet space that lives somewhere in between. In the quiet pause between one breath and the next. In the gentle hush that settles over the world just after midnight. This is where our story begins. Her name was Sera. She was a young woman who had always felt, deep in the quietest part of herself, that there was something more, something just out of reach, a feeling she could never quite name, like a word on the tip of the tongue, like the memory of a dream that dissolves the moment you open your eyes. She had felt it her whole life, that gentle pull, that whisper at the edges of sleep. And so, on one particular night, a night not unlike this one, when the world had grown still and dark and wonderfully quiet, Sera found herself walking. She did not remember getting up from bed. She did not remember slipping on her soft grey cloak, or stepping through the door of her cottage, or following the narrow path through the meadow at the edge of her village. She simply found herself walking, as though her feet had always known the way. The night air was cool and sweet. It carried the scent of something she had no name for, a fragrance like rain on warm stone, like cedar and moonflower, like the first breath of autumn just beginning to turn. She breathed it in slowly, and something in her chest loosened. The meadow stretched wide and dark around her, the long grass whispering softly against her legs as she walked. Above her, the sky was extraordinary. She stopped for a moment, just to look at it. You know that feeling when you look up at a truly clear night sky, truly clear, away from any lights, away from any noise. And the stars are so many and so bright that the sky itself seems to hum. That was this sky. Stars beyond counting. Stars in rivers and clusters and long sweeping arcs. Stars so bright they cast soft shadows on the grass below. And the Milky Way, that great river of light, stretched from one end of the sky to the other, like a bridge someone had scattered with silver dust. Sera stood very still, and she breathed, and without quite knowing why, she felt her eyes filled with quiet tears. Not sad tears, not at all. The kind of tears that come when something is so beautiful that it fills you up past the point of holding it. The kind of tears that feel like a kind of relief. She wiped them gently with the back of her hand, smiled, and kept walking. The path grew narrower as she went, and then gradually it began to climb. She hadn't noticed any hills in this meadow before, but then she had never walked it at this hour, in this direction, following this particular pull in her chest. The grass gave way to soft silver-grey earth, cool and smooth beneath her feet. The air grew lighter, somehow, more luminous, as though the darkness itself was becoming less dark, Not brighter, exactly, but more transparent, like a curtain being slowly drawn aside. She climbed and climbed, and then she stopped, because the path had ended, or rather, the path had arrived. She stood at the edge of a cliff she had never known was there, looking out over a valley that should not have existed. A vast, sweeping valley, wide as a sea, filled not with shadow and darkness, but with the softest, most extraordinary light she had ever seen. Pale violet, silver white, the faintest, most tender blue. A light that moved, that breathed, that pulsed gently, like a living thing, like a heartbeat. Sera stood very still and looked at it for a long, long moment. Then she took a breath, and she stepped off the edge of the cliff. Of course she did not fall. She drifted, slowly, gently, like a leaf released from a branch on a still autumn day. She drifted down into the valley of light. Her cloak spread softly around her, her hair lifted gently in a breeze she could barely feel. The light rose up to meet her, warm and gentle against her skin, and she felt safe. Completely, utterly, deeply safe. As though this light had been waiting for her, as though she was not arriving somewhere new, but returning somewhere ancient. Somewhere she had always known. Her feet touched the ground so softly, she barely noticed the moment of landing. She was in the valley now, and the valley was a kingdom. Part 2, the Kingdom of Starweavers. It was not what she expected a kingdom to look like. There were no stone walls, no towers or gates or banners, no cobblestones or market squares or the smell of wood smoke and cooking fires. Instead, there were trees unlike any she had ever seen. They were tall, breathtakingly tall, with trunks of the deepest, richest violet black, smooth as polished stone, and branches that spread wide and high overhead like the vaulted ceiling of some ancient cathedral. And from every branch, from every twig, from every thin and reaching finger of wood, there hung light. Not lanterns, not candles, not torches, stars. Small, soft, individual stars, each one no bigger than a closed fist, drifting gently at the ends of threads so fine she could barely see them. Thousands of them, tens of thousands, hanging and turning slowly in the soft air, filling the canopy above her with a shifting, breathing constellation of light. She reached up, slowly, and held her palm beneath one. It drifted down and rested there, warm and humming very faintly, like a small living creature settling into sleep. She held her breath. The star pulsed once, soft gold, then silver, then the palest, tenderest rose, and then it drifted upward again, back among its kin, and she watched it go with something like wonder and something like tenderness combined. They liked to be held. The voice came from beside her, soft, unhurried, carrying no surprise, as though she had been expected, as though her arrival here was the most natural thing in the world. Sera turned. There was a woman sitting at the base of one of the great dark trees. She was older, not old exactly, but the kind of age that carries weight and warmth and a great deal of quiet knowledge. Her hair was the color of starlight, that particular silver white that is not grey but something altogether more luminous, and it fell loose around her shoulders. She wore a robe of deep indigo, and in her lap was a length of something that looked like thread, but glowed softly as she worked it between her fingers. "I'm sorry," Sera said, though she was not quite sure what she was apologizing for. "I didn't mean to intrude." "You didn't intrude, the woman said simply. You arrived. There's a difference. She tilted her head slightly, and her eyes, which were the color of a clear night sky, deep and dark and scattered with something like light, regarded Sera with gentle curiosity. Sit down, if you like. Sera sat. The ground beneath the trees was covered in something soft. Not grass exactly, but something finer. Something that seemed almost to exhale gently beneath her weight, like a great slow breath. She folded her legs and rested her hands in her lap and looked up through the canopy of hanging stars. What is this place? She asked. The Kingdom of the Starweavers, the woman said, without looking up from her work, though it has had other names in other times. What do the Starweavers do? The woman smiled, still working her glowing thread. They make the stars, she said, each one by hand. Each one is different. Each one carries something particular within it. Sera looked up again at the thousands of small, soft lights drifted above her. What do they carry? The woman was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that is not empty, but full of thought, full of care. Dreams, she said at last. Each star carries a dream. When the time is right, when the dreamer is ready, the star finds its way to them. It drifts down through the night, very gently, the way snow falls, the way sleep comes, and it releases what it carries softly into the sleeping mind. Sera was quiet for a long moment. That's where dreams come from? She said softly. Where did you think they came from? Sera smiled. I didn't know. Most people don't. The woman finally looked up from her work, and her eyes held something warm and kind and a little amused. But they feel it sometimes, that sense just before sleep, that something is coming toward them, something soft and luminous and full of meaning. She tilted her head. Yes. Have you
Sera
felt
whispered.
that? I've always felt that. The woman nodded, as though this was exactly the right answer. That is why you are here. Part 3, Walking the Kingdom. The woman's name, she said, was Lyra, and she offered to show Sera the kingdom, if she wished. Sera wished. They walked together beneath the great dark trees, through the shifting, breathing light of 10,000 hanging stars. The air was warm here, not hot, not even close to hot, but warm in the particular way of a room where someone you love has just been sitting. Warm with presence, warm with life. Their footsteps made no sound on the soft ground. Lyra walked slowly, and Sera was grateful for it. She wanted to look at everything. She wanted to let her eyes rest on every detail, every small and tender thing, because everything here seemed to carry meaning. Even the smallest things, even the things she could not explain. The way the light moved, the way the trees breathed, the way the stars drifted, never hurrying, never faltering, each one following some slow and invisible current in the air. They came to a place where the trees thinned and opened into a clearing. And in the clearing there was a pool. The water, if it was water, was perfectly still, perfectly clear, and it glowed from beneath with the same soft, pale, violet silver light that filled the whole valley. Sera crouched at its edge and looked in, and she could see, far, far below the surface, deeper than any pool should be, a slow turning, a slow circling, like galaxies seen from a great distance. What is this? She murmured. The dreaming pool, Lyra said, coming to stand beside her. Every dream that has ever been dreamed flows through here, eventually. Every dream that has been given and received and lived through and remembered and forgotten, they all return here. They dissolve back into the light, and the light becomes new stars, and the new stars become new dreams. She paused. Nothing is lost. Not truly, not ever. Sera looked at the turning light far below the surface of the pool. She thought of dreams she had had and forgotten. She thought of dreams she still remembered, years and years later, with a clarity that surprised her. The feeling of flying, the feeling of standing in a place of profound beauty, the feeling of being known, completely, entirely known. Are those in there? She asked softly. My dreams? All of them, Lyra said. Everyone. Sera sat back on her heels and breathed, and the sound of the pool, a sound she had barely noticed until now, settled more deeply into her awareness. A very soft sound, a whisper almost, like voices heard through a wall, just below the threshold of understanding, like wind in long grass, like the sound the sea makes when the tide is very gently turning. She closed her eyes and listened, and something in her, something that had been held tight for a very long time, something she had not known was held, softened, released, let go. She breathed in. She breathed out. She let herself simply be here, in this soft and luminous place, with the sound of all her dreams turning slowly in the pool before her, and the light of 1,000 stars drifting above, and the warm and unhurried presence of Lyra beside her. She felt the way she had always hoped sleep could feel, if only she could find her way there. Full and quiet and held, safe and wide and free. Part 4, The Weaving Room. After a long, sweet while, Lyra rose and Sera followed. They walked deeper into the kingdom, where the trees grew closer and the light grew warmer, and eventually they came to a place where the ground rose gently into a low hill, and at the top of the hill, built into the hill itself, or perhaps grown from it, for it was hard to tell where the hill ended and the building began, was a structure of dark wood and glowing stone. Inside was the weaving room. It was large, larger than seemed possible from the outside, with a high vaulted ceiling from which stars hung thick as heavy rain, and long tables where other weavers sat and worked in quiet concentration. They were of all ages, some young, some old, some somewhere in between. All of them worked with the same soft, glowing thread, their hands moving with a slowness that was not hesitation, but deep, careful intention. No one spoke. The room was full of the softest sound, the sound of the thread being drawn, the sound of breath, the sound of the occasional star being lifted and set to drift upward toward the ceiling. Sera walked slowly between the tables. She looked at what was creating something different. Here a small dense star that pulsed with deep amber light. There a long trailing shape like a comet, gossamer and silver. Here something she could only describe as a feeling made visible. A soft, formless glow that seemed to carry within it a sense of vast, open space, of horizons, of the particular freedom of standing at the edge of something immense. She paused at this one. The weaver, an older woman with warm brown skin and grey-streaked hair braided close to her head, looked up and met her eyes. This one is for someone who has forgotten how large the world is, the weaver said quietly. Someone who has been living very small for a long time. Very carefully. This dream will remind her. Sera felt something move in her chest. How do you know what someone needs? She asked. The weaver smiled. You listen, she said. Quietly enough, long enough, you listen, and the thread tells you. The thread knows. It has already been where it is going. We are simply the hands that shape it. Sera stood there for a long moment, looking at the soft, formless glow on the table. Then quietly, she asked, "Could I try?" Lyra brought her a length of thread. It was warm in her hands, warmer than she expected, and it moved, just slightly, not like a living thing, exactly, but like something that had intention, like it was leaning, gently, in a direction it wanted to go. She sat down at an empty table. She held the thread loosely between her palms. She breathed, and she listened. She didn't think about what she was making. She didn't try to decide or plan or direct. She simply let her hands be still and let the thread rest in them and listened to it the way you might listen to rain, without trying to understand it, without trying to name it, simply receiving it. After a while, she couldn't have said how long, her hands began, very slowly, to move. The thread moved with them. She watched in a kind of quiet amazement as the thing she was making took shape. It was not large, not complex, but it glowed with a warmth she recognized. She knew this warmth. She had felt it somewhere. She had felt it as a child, falling asleep in the back of a car on a long night drive, warm and wrapped and held, the motion of the car a gentle rocking, the voices of the people she loved drifting softly in the front, the darkness passing outside the window full of light, the perfect safety of being carried somewhere without needing to know where. That was what the dream was. That was what it carried. She held it in her hands for a long moment and felt it hum against her palms, and then she lifted it and let it go, and it drifted upward slowly to join the others, and she watched it go, and she felt that it would find its way. She felt certain of it, in the way you are certain of things in dreams. It would find a person who needed it. It would reach them in the night, soft as a sigh, and it would give them back something they had forgotten. The feeling of being carried, the feeling of being safe. Part 5. The Resting Place. The night had grown very deep by now. Sera did not know how long she'd been in the kingdom. Time moved differently here, not slowly, not quickly, but in a way that had no edges, no urgency. Each moment simply arrived and was full, and then gently gave way to the next. Lyra came and found her as the other weavers began to set down their threads and move quietly toward the edges of the room. "It is the deep hour," Lyra said softly, "the time when even the stars sleep a little. Come." She led Sera out of the weaving room and back through the trees, following a path that curved gently downward toward the lowest point of the valley. Here, where the light was softest and the air warmest, there was a place that had been prepared. A bed, not a bed of wood and frame and mattress, but a bed of something softer, a gathering of the finest, most luminous moss, deep and thick, warm as held breath. Above it, the branches of 2 great trees curved toward each other, their stars intertwining overhead, casting the gentlest, most tender light she had ever tried to sleep beneath. Sera looked at it. "For me," she said. "For you," Lyra said. "For tonight." Sera sat down on the moss, and then, because there was nothing else to do, nothing else required of her, nothing needed or expected or asked, she lay down. The moss received her completely. Every part of her that had been holding, shoulders, jaw, hands, the space behind her eyes, simply released. Like a breath that had been held for years and years finally let go. She looked up through the canopy, The stars drifted.
Sera sat nearby.
She breathed, not touching, not speaking, simply present. The way a good and trusted person is present in the night, not doing anything, not needing anything, simply being there, so that the darkness is not quite so alone. Sera felt her eyes grow heavy. She did not resist. There was nothing to resist here. Let your eyes be heavy now, the kingdom seemed to say. Let your body be heavy. Let everything you have been carrying today, all the thinking, all the doing, all the remembering and planning and worrying and wondering, let it drift upward like a star released. It does not need you tonight. It will be there tomorrow. But tonight you are here. Tonight you are held. The stars drifted. The light breathed. The soft sound of the dreaming pool moved at the edges of her awareness. That whisper of all the dreams that had ever been and would ever be, turning slowly in the deep. Sera closed her eyes. She felt the warmth of the kingdom around her, the trees, the light, the soft ground, the unhurried presence of the weavers moving quietly in the distance. She felt her own breathing slow, in, out, each breath a little slower, a little deeper, a little more like letting go than the last. She thought of the dream she had made. She wondered where it was going. She hoped it would arrive softly, the way all the best things arrive, without announcement, without fanfare, simply there, suddenly, the way morning comes, the way a kindness is remembered, the way love makes itself known in the quietest moments. She smiled, very slightly, in the dark behind her eyes, and then even the smiling softened, and then even the thinking softened, and there was only the warmth, and the light, and the slow, sweet, endless drift. You are safe here, you are held. There is nothing required of you in this moment except to rest, to let your body grow heavy, to let your mind grow still, to let the dreams find their way to you as they always have, as they always will. The stars are drifting, the dreaming pool is turning, the weavers are at their work, making beautiful things for sleeping minds, and one of them, one of those soft, warm, glowing things, is already on its way to you. Let it come, let it find you, let yourself be found. Breathe in and out, in and out. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be, only this, only the warmth, only the drift, only the soft and endless dark, full of stars. Sleep now, sleep, sweet dreams. Thank you for joining us at Zenful Heart Slumber Time. If this story brought you peace tonight, please subscribe so you never miss a new story. New tales every week, made with love for your most restful sleep. Good night.